This next town that I'm going to mention certainly qualifies for a USDA loan. However, it is not going to be for everyone. For today's video, I am sharing a handful of the top towns for first-time homebuyers to move to in 2025. This is not based off of my opinion. These are not my preferences. This is based off of what so many of the first-time buyers that we work with choose to do, especially lately, like right now at the time of filming this. If you're new here, welcome. My name's Mariah. My husband Spencer and I run a top producing husband and wife real estate team here in Oregon. We get calls, texts, and emails from people like you that are watching our YouTube videos and are either thinking about relocating to the area from out of state, or that already live here in Oregon and are just wanting to buy or sell a house, whether it's their first time or not. And if that's you, I'd love to work with you as well. Shoot me an email anytime. I'd love to get a call with you on the schedule. I will put my contact information in the description below. The first thing to consider is your budget and lifestyle. I have some first-time buyer clients I'm working with right now who love the beautiful Oregon. That is why so many of our clients, honestly, that are relocating from out of state, many of them tell us, we have clients relocating here for all kinds of reasons. Don't get me wrong. Everything from being closer to family here to many for job opportunities. But a huge reason we do see buyers like these ones I'm chatting about right now move here is because Oregon is really beautiful and they like the outdoors, they like the nature. They don't necessarily get that in the state that they're living in. These first-time buyers, that was their reason for moving here. And their budget that they're looking in is around the $800,000 range. That price range, I will say, is higher for sure than what most first-time buyers that we see here in our area working with. So you definitely do not need an $800,000 budget to buy your first house here in Oregon. However, that is what these buyers are working with, and they are choosing to buy in Corvallis because they considered their budget and they considered their lifestyle. There's a lot of outdoor things in Corvallis. I will say though, there are a lot of other towns that are more affordable that have also great outdoor, lifestyle type things. So don't be discouraged if that's not your budget. However, these clients, they want to be in Corvallis, and this town is a much higher average sale price than many of the other towns you could choose to live in the Willamette Valley and the surrounding areas, if that makes sense. Consider lifestyle factors, but also be sure to keep your budget and the town's average sale price in mind also. Speaking of Corvallis, a town just north of Corvallis, but just south of Salem, kind of in between the two, probably about 15 to 35 minutes or so from both Salem and Corvallis, depending on what side of town you're coming from and going to, if that makes sense. That we see a lot of our first-time buyer clients choose to move to is Albany. We have buyers who are working in both Corvallis and in Salem choose to buy in Albany because the home prices are so much lower. So Salem, you're gonna see average sale price lower than Corvallis, but higher than Albany by at least a little bit. A lot of our clients choose to live in this town. It is smaller, however, it isn't so small that it's like this super far out, to drive places, that type. Like, it's not too small, if that makes sense. They do have a Costco, they have, grocery shopping, they have restaurants, a little bit of shopping, not a ton. They have parks. The next thing to consider is your loan type. And the reason I wanted to talk about this is because your loan type could potentially determine what towns you're able to look at. There is a loan called a USDA loan where you do not need to put any money down. However, you do need to buy, if you qualify for this loan at least, you do need to buy outside of city limits. So you would not be able to purchase in Salem. However, there are many towns on the outskirts of Salem in pretty much every direction that would be USDA eligible. I'm actually almost positive that all of the towns we'd be talking about today, or that we are mentioning today, or almost all of them, are USDA eligible. By the way, if you want to talk to a lender about this, if you want to see like what the numbers would look like if you were to go with a USDA $0 down loan, if it would work for you, shoot me an email and I can send you the information to a really solid lender who will be able to get back to you right away about this and get all your questions answered. Speaking about the USDA loan, this next town that I'm going to mention certainly qualifies for a USDA loan. However, it is not going to be for everyone. It is about 45 minutes to an hour from Salem. Current population is just under 20,000 residents. However, you will find much lower average home price in this town, and one of the big reasons for that is because generally the further you get from Salem, like out in the country, these more rural outskirts towns, and this one, it's like I said, it's 45 minutes to an hour outside of Salem, so it's kind of out there. The further you get out, a lot of times the lower the home prices will get. I do think this is a pretty good town to invest in right now, or at least to like buy your first house in. I think that, I really think that the resale value will be there. This town is growing quite a bit. They have a newer hospital, a lot of like new job opportunities, that type of thing. And this town is Lebanon, Oregon. The next town is Dallas, Oregon. This is a town that many of our first-time buyer clients that we've worked with over the years who were initially wanting to buy in Salem, and then ended up just like getting discouraged because the homes in Salem that fit their budget just weren't really what they were wanting. And this town does have lower average home price than Salem. So they ended up moving over to this town instead and moving their home search over to this town and buying something over here. We see that quite a bit actually. That is Dallas, Oregon. Yes, this town is USDA eligible as well. It's about a 30-minute drive from Salem. A big downside is that it is a little inconvenient for the freeway. It's kind of inconvenient going to Portland, I think. The upside, if you are a fan of a good rainy, cold beach, you're a little bit closer to the Oregon coast because it's that direction, like heading out to the coast. So if that's something that you're interested in, we've actually had clients wanting to look in Dallas because they were from a state that did not have a coast and they wanted to be by the coast. And our coast it's rainy, but it is really beautiful. Okay, I will say that. Dallas is just under 17,000 residents. This last town that I think personally is really great for first-time buyers is Salem. And the reason I think this is because each side of town, honestly, Salem's kind of split up into different sides of town. There's central, like downtown Salem. There's South Salem. There's Northeast Salem. There's West Salem. Each side of town has its own vibe, its own things to offer, its own positive things about it. And each side of town is pretty drastically different from one another, but well, not that drastically, but they are all different from one another and have different things to offer, I guess you could say. Different reasons why you might want to move to one side over the other. And you're gonna see, like, no matter what your budget is, you're gonna see different price points on each different side of town, if that makes sense. So there's probably a side of town that works for your budget, maybe not. Another thing that's pretty great about Salem right now is, I know when I first got into real estate in 2015, there were honestly hardly any condo and townhome communities, but now we have seen so many townhome and condo communities popping up on every different side of town. And the reason I think that's good for first-time buyers is because if you buy a townhome, for example, which I know not every first-time buyer is going to do, but if you did want to go that route, you can buy a beautiful, like, newer construction home, same square footage as a residential home, but it's going to cost significantly less. We also have new construction, like regular residential neighborhoods popping up on every side of town right now here in Salem. However, you can honestly find a little bit of everything from older, more established neighborhoods with huge tree-lined, like streets lined with huge, very mature trees, and older houses, a little bit bigger lots, you could say, to like, there's not a ton of like downtown living right now. That's definitely changing more so, but you can find historic homes and like historic neighborhoods. You can find new construction neighborhoods. There's honestly such a variety. So you sold me, Mariah. Oregon it is. I'm ready to get there. What is the next step? I'm so glad you asked. The next step is shoot me an email and we can get a call on the schedule, either a Zoom call or a phone call, and talk about the next steps. I'll put my email address in the description below, and then after that, or before, or at the same time, head over to my channel. I have an entire playlist sharing everything you need to know about relocating to our beautiful area, and I'll see you guys next week.